Hi everyone, Leanne Pilkington here. This episode of Courageous Conversations contains sensitive subject matter regarding mental health and potentially some confronting or triggering topics. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or anything mentioned in this episode triggers you, please remember that help is available 24 hours a day from Lifeline at 13 11 14, or of course call 000 if a life is in danger.
I absolutely love helping people, and I did something different every day. I would help someone differently every day, no matter what I did. And I like to help fix things. You might not fix them permanently, but you fix them at that time, and you help people get through everything, which is really a really good feeling.
You're listening to Elevate, the official podcast of Elite Agent for real estate industry sales professionals, property managers and leaders. We are proud to present Courageous Conversations, a podcast series focusing on the tough decisions people have made to put themselves on a pathway to success. This episode is brought to you by Connect Now, who makes the business of moving easier for both you and your clients. For more information, visit connectnow.com.au. Please welcome your host, Leanne Pilkington.
Hey everyone, Leanne Pilkington for the latest episode of Courageous Conversations, and I have got my friend Sam Barlow with us today. Hey Sam, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Lovely to see you. Thank you for taking the time. You have been part of the Laing Simmons family for since 2018. So what's that now? 3 years, and you had a year prior to that in real estate. But before that, you were actually in the police force.
Yes, I was. I was in for 20 years.
Really, really long time. So I remember, and I'm not sure if some of our listeners may actually remember your name from way back in 2009, and there was just the most horrendous incident that happened in May 2009. Do you want to run through what that was?
On the 13th of May 2009, it was on my second day back at work from, I just had 6 months off for maternity leave. And I parked my car, as I always did every morning, down at King's Cross. And I was walking up to work at about 4:30 in the morning. And I had my uniform in my bag over my shoulder. And I was walking up, and it was obviously very dark, but that was normal. And I was just walking as usual by myself. I was approaching the William Street Tunnel, the overpass there, the bridge. A person jumped out from behind the pylon and cracked me in the head with a brick. He hit me in the head 12 to 20 times. And I don't thankfully remember the incident, but yes, he hit me in the head at 12 to 20 times, and then he dragged me from the footpath into a park, which was adjacent to the footpath there, and then continued to hit me with the brick, and then he went through my bag when he thought he'd done enough damage to me, so I wouldn't resist anymore, because apparently that's why he kept going, because I wouldn't stop.
You wouldn't give up.
I wouldn't give in. No one takes my bag. And
fair enough.
So yes. And yes, and then he went to go through my bag and then discovered I was a police officer because my uniform was in there, and then panicked and then thought, oh my God, if she recognises me, I'm in a lot of trouble. Yeah. So then he thought, well, I better finish her off. And then he smashed my head against the sandstone wall in the park a few more times until he thought I was dead. Then covered me over with some branches, wrapped my head in my shirt, and then left me literally for dead, and took my money out of my bag and caught a cab and left the scene.
And so then what happened?
Somehow, I don't really, thankfully, remember,
no.
But which from that position in the park, which was about 20 metres, I dragged myself from that position to the bus shelter, which was on the footpath.
Right.
And they only know that because there was my blood trail from that position of how I dragged myself from that spot, and then I'd somehow gotten or slid into the bus seat, which was Perspex, and then I'd slid down it and then collapsed. And then the police truck from my station happened to drive past and thought someone was dressed in a Santa Claus suit.
Oh.
And it was a fancy dress coming home from a big night out. So they stopped and approached me and asked me my name. And somehow I got out my name, and then they looked at me and went, "No, you're not." And then they looked at me again and went, "Oh my God, that is Sam." And then, yeah, thankfully everyone was called, and then I was an ambulance came and the paramedics treated me for a long time, and then I went straight to St Vincent's Hospital and went into an induced coma, and yes,
a long recovery. When we first met, I read your book, which is called Left for Dead, and I don't know, I've never read a book that clearly demonstrates such a determination to get yourself back, like what you had to go through, right? How did you find that? Because obviously you had you just come back from maternity leave, so you had a baby.
So I had I had two children. So I had Lily, and she was 23 months at that stage, and I had Ben, and he was 6 months old at that stage. And so yes, obviously they were very dependent on me and my husband.
Yes.
And so yeah, basically it wasn't an option when you've got a family, and clearly I'm biased, the best family in the world to me.
After reading the book, I can tell you, I think you've got a pretty incredible family and a very, very special husband. There's no doubt about that.
I am very fortunate, and I guess there were so many injuries. Would you like to know a couple of the injuries?
Oh, just a couple.
Okay, don't want to know too many because there was quite a few.
There was a lot. I know, there was a lot.
Yeah. So obviously when I got hit in the head with the brick that many times, he fractured my skull, and then I had to have a piece of my skull, which is the size of your hand, surgically removed, because my brain obviously was swelling, and they had to remove that because it was so damaged anyway, the skull, and to let my brain as such breathe, and because it was so bruised.
Yep.
I had a fractured eye socket, a fractured nose, a fractured vertebrae in my neck. My forehead was fractured, and my right hand was crushed. So because I was protecting my head with my hand, so my hand was completely crushed, and all my fingers and everything. So
just to name a few. How long were you in hospital?
So I believe, thankfully, I can't remember any time in hospital because
really,
I guess because it was so traumatic. I did try and block it out, and I have most of it. I have, even though clearly I had to go back a lot of times. Yeah. But I was in hospital for about 2 months.
Okay.
And during that time, thankfully, so I'm told by my husband, in the last month, I attempted to leave, escape many times.
Escape, yes.
So because I really didn't like it there, and they wouldn't let me do anything, as in try and get myself better. They'd go, "No, you have a hole in your head, sit down." And I'd go, no, I need to, do stuff. And they're like, "No, you don't.
You need to be with my babies."
So anywhere would have been better, but yes. So that's how long I spent there.
And then how long before you went back to the police force?
So it took 22 months.
Yeah, right.
22 months from the incident. Because I basically had doctor's appointments, or several doctor's appointments every day, of the week for months and months, and then I had lots of therapy on top of that, as in for my hands, and a few more operations, and just obviously rebuilding everything just to get strength back, and I guess, I did lose, memory at the time, as in short-term memory. So, I had to, try and process everything and just develop an understanding, and I guess, realize it happened and move on and build a bridge and, got to get past it.
Build a bridge, get over it. I mean, really?
That was really the option.
Why did you go back to the police force?
Because I absolutely love helping people, and I did something different every day. I would help someone differently every day, no matter what I did. Right. And I like to help fix things. You might not fix them permanently, but you fix them at that time, and you help people get through everything, which is really a really good feeling. And then and I guess you slow the bad people. You can stop them and hopefully redirect them at that time, and then the victims you can help bounce back and point them in the right direction. Yeah. So it's just it was a really good fit, and basically why did I go back? Because I loved what I was doing. Yeah. And this happened as no result of me doing anything wrong. Yeah. It was totally random, and it was taken from me, and I was not going to let a bad person change me or my course of direction or my life. Yeah. He was not going to take anything from me. He was not going to win. So that was my goal. I am going to get myself back to where I was and better.
Yeah, and can I tell you, anybody who hasn't read the book, you really should, because as much as it is a horrifying story, just the amount of resilience and determination that was shown, you actually feel really good. You're on your side, help, just willing you through, if that makes sense. And so you decided that the police wasn't the right path anymore. How long did that take?
So I was back for a good year. Yeah. And I made sure I'd accomplished every test or everything I was in, because I was also in the riot squad part-time. Yeah. And so I had to go through all those fitness tests and chemical tests, like have all things thrown at me and go in gas and everything again, and show I could, complete all that and cope with that. So I had to do that and tick that off, and I did. So that was good. But then I guess as a result of my injuries, I still can't and I won't be able to smell or taste. Right. Not that I need to be able to taste anything in the police, but I need to
smell.
I need to be able to smell. And I went to a couple of fires and gas leaks, and I was the one in charge at those jobs, and I didn't know where it was coming from. Yeah. So I couldn't in good faith send people when I didn't know where it was coming from. I needed to be in control, and I couldn't, put someone else's safety at risk.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That must have been really hard to come to terms with.
Yes, so I'm very good at denial, but yes, I did take a bit of processing that, and I went, well, yeah, it's
so how do you go about processing something that is, something that you loved so much and something that you worked so hard to achieve, and then you can't do it anymore? How do you actually come to terms with that?
I love sport. Yep. And I guess I enjoy training I don't do sport to just participate in it. I do it to do it well.
Yeah, of course.
And then so I took up Ironman. Right. And yes, so basically when I train, then I'm untouchable in the sense that I'm in my zone. Yep. And whether I'm swimming or running or riding, I'm in that headspace, and that is like my time out. Yep. It's good for me, obviously physically, and it's good mentally for me. So, yes, no one can as such consume, you at that moment. It's just you're zoned out, and that's your little space.
It's almost, it sounds like it's almost a form of meditation for you.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, everyone has different ways to process, and I guess that's just mine. Exercise is really good, and I guess it just needs in my form. It needs to be hard exercise.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. No,
not just 5 minutes of it, several hours of it. So then I thought, okay, well, I'll train hard and I'll do an Ironman, and so I ended up doing 5 of them.
Right.
And then I didn't think I should do it as a team because I wanted to do it on myself.
Right.
So I thankfully did it all individually, and and it was very rewarding. And then, of course, each one I did, in my head, I had to do a better time. It wasn't just good enough to participate. I had to improve each one.
Sure.
And thankfully I did.
And then you decided to move up to Port Macquarie, beautiful Port Macquarie.
Yes.
And you moved to Port Macquarie, and your dad was a real estate agent in the eastern suburbs back in the 90s, right? So you'd had your licence for a long time.
Yes, yeah.
And,
so my dad had a real estate agency in Randwick for 40 years.
Right.
And so I guess I grew up being consumed by real estate, and always had a very strong interest in it.
Yeah.
And so, I guess when I was 18, I got my real estate license. I did that at night, back in TAFE at night when I was working during the day. And that was a 3-year course. It was really good. It was very thorough. Yeah. And then I helped my dad on the side, in between my shifts. And so I got my hand in that, and I really enjoyed that. So when we moved up to Port Macquarie, I went, well, I'm getting back into it.
Yeah, it's been about 4 years that you've been back into it. I must admit, after reading your book and knowing that you were with Laing Simmons at Port Macquarie, I thought, man, she's going to be hard to beat as a real estate agent if she puts her mind to stuff like this. Well, obviously real estate was something that was sort of in the blood and something you'd done before, but it sounds like there's some of the things you liked about the police force that translate over into real estate, right, with helping people.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm still thankfully helping everyone, but just in a different way. So whether or not, obviously, it's, finding something for them to live in or to help them sell it. But it's still great because obviously I can, because I did negotiation in the police, so I clearly negotiate, obviously, many sales and encourage, and help people because, people are so vulnerable when they're buying a home and selling their home that they need someone they can trust. And I'm as transparent as anyone could be coming from what I did. Yeah. And I just love that aspect of it.
Yeah, fantastic. And so if people, obviously, as we're recording this, Sydney is still in lockdown. You, however, are not. But people have got lots of challenges in their world right now, and some people are dealing with that better than others. What would you say to people that are facing some challenges and feeling like everything's a bit too much for them right now?
To be very honest, I think, because I had so many lists of things I wanted to achieve when I couldn't do anything, and I guess that is in similar circumstances. You can only do so many things at once. Yep. And then I guess I prioritised what I wanted, and I would tick one thing off at a time. I would work so hard to achieve it, and then I would go, okay, I've got that. And then I'd negotiate with my doctors, and I had lists, and I'd go, okay, right, I'm doing this one for the next month, and I'd tick it off, and I go, okay, next month I'm going to hit this one, and then I would just give it 200%. You just have to stay so focused on what you want, and everyone gets setbacks. You're not going to accomplish everything just because you want to or you think you can, but when it does go wrong, which it will, you just have to go, okay, well, I'll try a different way. But you must stay on it and stay focused, and you'll get there. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but you will get there. If you want it, you will get there.
Yeah, that's great advice. Don't try and do too much. Stay focused on what it is. Yeah, be clear on what it is that you want.
Small things, you can achieve small little tasks, and then, small victories will lead to big ones. So, and in everyone's mind, their troubles at that moment are the biggest things in the world to them. And that's what they have to stay focused on and just go, well, you know what, that's big to me and I'm going to focus on that. But at the same time, remember, other people have troubles too. So you're not in it alone, and other people like to talk too. So it's always nice to have someone to chat to, and you don't have to talk to them in person. You can talk to them on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, just doing these podcasts with people, it's overwhelming how many incredible stories that people have out there. And you don't realise, because that's not the face that you show other people, right? You show the face that's all shiny and happy and everything's fabulous, right? I mean, that's what you see on Instagram, so that must be true.
That's it. Clearly every day you never forget. You never forget, obviously, anything. No. But I do my very best to park it and then carry on like there's absolutely nothing, not that there's anything wrong with me, but as in that anything has happened to me. I just move on, and then I would never discuss it with anyone unless they happen to find out somehow. I'll go, oh yeah, that was me. Right. I had a few challenges, then, and I will always downplay it, but that's just how I do process things. So
yeah, and that's okay, because you do process them and you get through. Yeah. Tell me about writing the book. Was that you that wanted to do that, or was that Lawrence?
Well, we certainly did it together, but Lawrence is since he clearly had a very up close and personal encounter with the whole thing, and he can remember everything, which is not good sometimes, that he obviously can see everything so vividly, because I've just blanked it out. Yeah. And so he and it was a very good coping mechanism for him when especially at the very beginning. He would because he was also in the police, so he was very used to being in charge of situations and I guess diarising things. And so he was like making notes, all the time, and then just documenting things did, help him process them and cope with everything, I guess, too, and make sure he didn't, forget things, because clearly there was.
Well, it's just his training kicking in, right? His training kicked in, and Bolnock, yeah.
Absolutely, he did. He just had to put on a different hat, and then every now and then he was allowed to revert to, oh, yes, I'm the husband, yes, and yes, and the father, and this and that, and oh, my God, I've got to go and pick the kids up, I've got to do this, and be everywhere. But, so he was he's an awesome person.
Yeah, it certainly comes across. That was how I felt about him anyway, reading the book.
Yes,
and I think it's really important for everyone to remember that it's not just you going through what it is that you're going through, it's everybody around you that is having some kind of experience, and they're all going to be different. And, it's not just about you, even though you're the one who's having these horrendous injuries that you've got to overcome. Everybody around you was feeling trauma as well.
Absolutely, and I guess, yes, that's often what I have to remind myself of, because I think, well, no, that was me. That was, that was my incident.
I was the one with the hole in the head.
Yeah. I've got titanium. I beep when I go through things.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
But yes, everyone was very affected. And then so much so, like when I haven't seen people for a long time, and then, they're so concerned as to how I am now. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm great. And then they look at me and go, but how can you be? It's just how it is. And sometimes they really struggle with that. They go, I can't believe that actually happened, because you appear very normal now.
Yeah, it's I get, I'm very guilty of thinking because I'm coping okay with something, everybody else around me must be coping okay too. And that's just not necessarily the case. So just because you deal with things in one way doesn't mean that's the right way or the only way. It works for you, it doesn't work for everybody else. So, yeah, that's certainly a lesson for me. And so what's next for you, my friend?
What's next?
What's next?
Goodness, have I not done enough? No.
I don't know. Just checking. You're not very old, right? So any more Ironman in the future?
Well, I was scheduled to do the one. We do have one in September, but it's just been cancelled in Port Macquarie. So I'm very sad.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah. So, and believe it or not, I was actually going to be part of a team.
Yeah.
and
Maybe you could just do a Port Macquarie one and not invite anybody else. Don't have any of those pesky Sydney people with their COVID viruses. Just keep it local.
Yeah, I guess that is an option, but yes, not one that they liked. So yeah, so it's been unfortunately cancelled till next year. But but I am going to do a half marathon in September as well.
Fantastic.
So so that's the beach to Brother, which is sand, I guess, and then up a mountain. So yeah, so that will be good.
Wow.
So yeah, so I have done that one before, but not for a couple of years. So I thought, I've got to do something.
Yeah,
so,
good.
Got to have a purpose for my training. I like to have something to train for.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. You train harder if you've got a purpose.
Yeah. So so it's good to know that that's at the end of September.
Well, good luck with your training for that. Thank you so much for being prepared to share your story with all of us. It's lovely to catch up with you, and I will see you again very soon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to chat.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Courageous Conversations with thanks to connectnow.com.au. Don't forget to get access to all of Elite Agency's premium resources, including a detailed episode guide for this podcast. Visit joineliteagent.com.
Hi everyone, Leanne here again. Just a reminder, mental health and crisis support is available from Lifeline at 13 11 14 or call 000 if a life is in danger.